Hi, this is Rebecca from Grove Knits, and I just want to say welcome back, or welcome if you're new to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'm just going to run you through what I've been working on this week. It's been quite a big week for me. I have got a couple of projects completed, so we're just going to have a look at those. I was away in Ballarat last weekend and went to a couple of yarn shops. Bought some yarn in, what was the one in Ballarat? Sodarn, I'll pop the name across the bottom here. In Ballarat, where I bought some commercial wool yarn that's really lovely, great for knitting baby stuff. And then I stopped in Malden on the way back and at the Wool Stash and grabbed some Donegal yarn there, so I'll show you some of that as well. So again, welcome back. This won't be a long episode. I've only got a couple of, well, still plenty of works in progress, but just a couple of completed projects. One of the ones that I've completed is yet another flax. So this is the flax that I've knitted for my grandson Arlo. This is in a size 1 to 2. This is a nice wool yarn. You can see it's got gorgeous flecks going through it. Really nice stitch definition with this yarn. So this yarn is the Loyal Vegas Tweed, and you'll see it's actually got beautiful colouring in through it there. This one is incredibly soft. This is essentially the same brand as the faux Fair Old yarn that I knit his last jumper out of. But I said just a nice soft grey tweed, and that is in, it's machine washable unfortunately, but that's also not always a bad thing. And this is 100%, I think it's a virgin wool. Alright, it just says that it's actually a New Zealand wool. Alright, so to knit a size 1 to 2, it has taken 2.5 balls, so around about 125 grams. I just need to lay this out a bit. The arms are still wet. I only soaked this morning, so it's still drying. So my other finished object is I finally finished both of these socks. Okay, so these socks are, as I've mentioned previously, in an alpaca yarn. So I'll be interested to see how these actually hold up, being that they are alpaca. And I'll see how the heels actually hold up and whether or not the legs actually stay up and stay tall, because that's actually something I'm quite concerned about. I'm not convinced that the legs are actually going to stay up and grip my leg as well as they should. If it turns out they do, I've got another ball of this same yarn, but just in a light grey. So if they stay up well enough, I will actually knit the other socks. If they don't, I'll just turn that other ball of yarn into something for a shawl, I imagine. Because while alpaca yarn I find quite itchy, this particular one, less so at the moment. Let's see what it's like when I'm wearing it. So that's all I've got actually finished, but now for works in progress. Okay, now my first one, I thought that I've got one ball of this yarn left from Arlo's jumper, and I had that other half of the wool. So I would like to actually start trying to use up all of my scraps. So I thought I'd actually just cast on essentially a kid size beanie. It won't use all of this. I might do a couple of beanies because obviously I've got this one left as well, but I actually want to try and move towards not having as much scrap yarn left over. So I should have this finished this evening, just a simple beanie. But again, I really love this particular tweed. Okay, not a work in progress yet, but I have grabbed this beautiful red or maroon tweed. Now it's actually called Bendigo Tweed Rouge, and I'm going to cast on a 0 to 3 month or 3 to 6 month old flax with this yarn for a work colleague of mine who's due to have a baby in the next couple of weeks. So I think that she will really like this particular type of tweed, and it is incredibly, the Bendigo Woolamills tweed is truly beautiful. So I've got that in a yarn bag ready to go. I will actually cast on that tonight. I just didn't want to cast that on until I had Arlo's jumper done. So that's in this gorgeous little Dachshund bag. And you can't see him, but Jarvis is just down here coming to say hello. There he is here. Hello, lovely. Down you get though. Okay, you'll recall that I was knitting on the Summer Souffle, this top here. Let me show you the progress that I've made. I have split for the sleeves. It's a bit creased, I'm sorry. So this marker here was last time I showed you where I was up to. So I've split for the sleeves and just knitting down the body. You'll see that there's a row of bumps along here. That is where the ruffle will end up going. But I'm truly loving this particular coloured cotton. The cotton is Peacock by Bendigo Woolamills. I'm still on my first ball. I've got 2 more balls left, so I've got plenty there. So, yes. So that's the Summer Souffle. Now, for yarn that I've bought over this last weekend, please forgive me if you hear a dog growling. For some reason, this particular yarn, only one of the Dachshunds, but it's almost as though Jarvis believes that it's possessed in some way, shape or form. He is terrified of this. This is the Soft Donegal. In fact, right now he's backing away from it all. So with this Soft Donegal yarn, I've actually cast on the Smorgasbord Shawl by Stephen West. I really have not done a lot, mainly because of the way that Jarvis is reacting to the yarn. I just simply can't knit on this during the week because he's terrified of the yarn. It will even take me, when I put this away, I've actually got to put it away up on top of, on the top of the cupboard and outside of his sensory range, because otherwise he'll just stand there and bark at it as though it's some evil thing. So that's where I'm at the moment. So I've only just started, and I'll just show you the yarns that I've got. He would have to be about 30 feet away from me at the moment. He's not coming anywhere near me. All right. So it's 7 colours for the shawl. So a nice charcoal, a light grey. Now to knit with, it's actually a bit rough, and I'm not sure if from a sensory standpoint for the dog, it smells quite peppery. There's another colour. It's got like, it's almost like a dark black green. You'll be able to see all these on my Ravelry page. I've got the names of the colours on my Ravelry page. A beautiful mustard called Goldilocks. You can see there's gorgeous tweeds of orange and blues and greens all through it as well. This one's called Firefly, again with the gorgeous tweed through it. I actually had this wound, the shop actually wound this. This is from Meldon, as I said, the Wool Stash, and it came pre-wound for me. In hindsight, had I realised that Jarvis was going to react the way he is, I should have just left it skeined and taken it home and washed it. It's another, it's not looking true to colour here. It's a little bit more of a golden tan, whereas in the camera here it's looking more of a cool tan. It's more of a slightly golden tan. Just a nice cream, or it's actually natural. And that's the larger ball of that nice silver. And I'm just going to pause filming for a second and go and put these away, because poor Jarvis is absolutely terrified about 30 feet away from me. As I said, I don't know what it is with the smell of this yarn. He's reacting that badly that I almost think I should return the yarn. Okay, so thank you for your patience for a moment there. So I'm just now going to show you some of the other yarn that I bought this week. We've previously discussed my issue with continuing to get yarn when I just don't need it. But here we are. Cotton. I don't have a huge amount of cotton, or at least what would be, I'd call a t-shirt quantity of cotton. And this cotton was on special for around about $2 a ball. So I just got a neutral cotton. It's called Just Cotton. As I said, it was about $2 a ball, with the intent of just simply doing some more summer tops, because I actually like the thought of having some more summer, just short sleeve shirts to wear. So t-shirts, that kind of thing. So I'm now on the lookout for some nice summer top patterns, but I still need to have a good look through Ravelry because I actually haven't done that yet. Now for the other yarn that I bought in Ballarat. Now I didn't buy any of this for me. This was all yarn that Grace actually picked out that she'd like me to knit for Arlo. So as I mentioned, I got 4 balls of this Loyal Vegas tweed. So this one's actually quite an expensive yarn. And then I got 4 of each of these. So this one is a little bit cheaper. From memory, this one's about $10.50 a ball. And I think that these were both about $6.50 a ball. So both of these are Chiquedan Country. And so this one, you can see it's a nice blue tweed. Grace really loves the tweed yarns. So these are all wool. I tell a lie. These are 85% wool, 10% acrylic, and 5% viscose. Yep, 5% viscose. Presumably that'll actually be the tweed. The tweed will be those items. And then this gorgeous natural colour. And again the same, 85% wool, 10% acrylic, 5% viscose. So again, 4 balls of each of those. And this one I've already knit one jumper out of. Okay, so that's actually pretty much all that I've done so far this week. As I said, I finished off the pair of socks. I finished off a jumper for Arlo. I will complete that small beanie this evening and cast on Hina's little jumper for her little baby. At some point this week, I should have some Knit Crate yarn arriving. And that's about it. I'm not really stalking anything at the moment. I've still got the Jones cardigan on the needles. I haven't made any progression on that this week. But it has been a bit of a tough week at work. So that would be mostly why. I just need to knit on stuff that I haven't had to overly think about. So it's actually been quite pleasant just to simply be able to knit in the round and not have to think. One moment, I just realised I actually do have another pair of socks I've cast on. I just need to find those. Any chances at this one? Oh, talk about feeling guilty. All right, give me one sec. Okay, so I just opened one of the bags behind me and I've suddenly been hit with a wave of guilt because I did tell Grace that I'd try and get these finished for her this weekend because she has asked for them twice during the week. So I'd best... Isn't it amazing how plans just change all of a sudden? I'm going to have to work on these this evening, so I will delay starting... Oh, let's face it, I'm not going to delay starting Hina's thing at all. I'm going to quickly cast on Hina's little jumper and probably just get the neck done and then get back into this thing. I realise what another problem is that I'm having with it. Now, apart from the whole shrinking in the last one, I messed up the crutch a little bit. Now, nothing major, I was able to fix it. So the way that this pattern works is, obviously you start off with a nice little bit of ribbing, come on down, do either sides, join it up and go down. When you eventually get there, before you cast on the leg, before you pick up the stitches around the legs and go, you need to Kitchener stitch the crutch together, or three needle bind off. So I did a reverse 3 needle bind off. So 3 needle bind off on the inside. But what happened when I'm doing it, now you can see it's actually a little bit messy. 1 second. Actually, the pattern probably hides a little bit. It's messier than it normally would be when I do this, because I'm actually normally very neat with this type of stitching. All right, it's probably not as bad as I think it is. You can see a little bit, while that just looks like it's the dark of the yarn, it's actually a little bit uneven in here. What happened with me this time, this is talking about things going bad and going wrong, is it was late at night. Again, don't do this stuff too late at night because nothing's ever going to go right for you. I was feeling a little bit flustered, and I was picking up all the stitches around for the leg to keep on knitting, and then I kept on, every time I went round I had these extra stitches and I couldn't figure out where the extra stitches came from. Turned out what was happening, every time I went round I seemed to have, well, I had done the 3 needle bind off. There must have been one stitch somewhere that I hadn't actually bound off correctly when I was bringing it through. I must have left one just loose or hadn't tucked it in properly. Either way, that one stitch, every time I went past and knocked it, unravelled maybe 2 or 3 stitches. And by the time I had done a couple of rounds, this crutch had come all the way undone to around about, sorry, the dogs are playing in the background, to around about where my nail is here. All of this had come out. Now, if I was a better person or a better knitter, what I would have done was actually undone the whole leg again, brought it back to about here, and then just started again re-knitting and then did the whole process again. But what I thought I'd do, because it was late and I was tired and I was cranky at myself, I thought I can fix that. I can fix that, no problem. What do you mean it's all coming undone? I can easily fix that. So, began the process of me trying to pick up those stitches. Now, that was a far easier process in my head than it was actually in reality. Because every time I pick up some stitches, I dropped extra stitches, and it seemed like it was unravelling back more, and it was just an absolute cluster. So what I ended up doing was just fudging it, shoving those stitches. I remember just sort of shoving it through, getting the stitches on, doing a 3 needle bind off, then grabbing an extra bit of yarn and grabbing a little bit more selvage and then just sewing along it. So I sort of did a bit of a faux seam in here to try and cover up all the mess because it was so messy. But as I said, it's looking like that now, which with the patterning actually isn't that bad for the crutch. And let's face it, this is a kid's pair of overalls, and I'm sorry, Grace, my love, I say this with true love in my heart, you're probably going to shrink them at some point anyway, so it's okay. I'm just going to knit it down. So obviously that's in part why I've also delayed knitting this, and I had just suppressed the trauma of dealing with this crutch, which is just, I've just remembered. So no, so I'll knit on this tonight and we'll see how that goes. The legs aren't that long. We're talking about baby stuff here anyway. It's not too bad. So I'll keep this bag out because I need to get onto this tonight. Now, the pair of socks that I cast on as soon as I finished the other pair were, I mentioned last week, this stunning dragon yarn that I wanted to make into a pair of socks. I have cast it on. You'll see, massive cast on, absolutely massive. I've knit that much. So just started the ribbing. Without counting it, that might be what, 2 rows maybe? Maybe it's a 3rd row. Yeah, probably is 3 rows. Either way, cast it on, chucked it in the bag and got on to other things. I'm looking forward to knitting on it though, because this particular yarn, one thing I didn't realise, let me see if I can demonstrate this. How am I going to do this? It really has bounce. Oops, dropping it everywhere. So that's just that tension there. It really, I'm not really going to be able to display it. It's really giving me, when I stretch it out, I'm probably getting almost 1.5 centimetre extra stretch just into this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this feels when I wear it. The stretch in this is amazing. All right, so to recap, I have cast on that Stephen West shawl, but I'm second guessing my yarn choice because I can't have my dog petrified of what I'm knitting because he often sits on my lap. And when I say he's petrified of it, it's not just, he doesn't just avoid it. If it's on his own, he's trying to snap at it, he's trying to bite at it, he's trying to, I'm assuming, rescue me from it. So I've popped it away back in the study up on top of the cupboard at the moment. So I might even just, while I've started 2 of the balls, so I won't be able to get a refund on those. The ones that I haven't even done anything with, I can actually take back and just get a store credit and grab something else for those. So I'm tossing up before as you saw, I'm only like this much through the shawl. I do still want to knit that particular shawl, but do I just take the rest of it back and swap it out for some other yarn that isn't a nice soft Donegal? Yeah, so I've got to make up that decision. But as you know, with everything else I've got on the needles at the moment, I probably don't need to worry about that this weekend. I might actually reach out to the shop and have a chat and see what they'd recommend. I say I know it will be no issue for me to swap it over. I know that already. Just not the balls that I've already started with. So I might do that because I can't have one of my dogs scared of something I'm knitting. So thank you very much for joining me. I realise I haven't had that much to run through today, but a couple of completeds, loads of whips, and thank you for allowing me to offload the 3-needle bind-off drama that I've actually just had and now suddenly remembered, and that's why I haven't been knitting on it. So I need to finish that today. So have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to talking with you next week. It shouldn't be too long before this video is up, I hope. And again, enjoy your knitting. I know that for me this weekend, I don't actually think we've actually got anything on. I think we get to stay home, which means I should actually get a fair bit done after all the housework and the rest of it, which, you know, we all have to suffer through that stuff. So have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks. Bye.